Hello, and welcome to this voter information webinar. My name is Brandy Archie, and I'm the president of Upsilon Zeta Zeta chapter of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And we decided to host this event because voting is so important and now more so than ever. Did you know that in 2016, 43% of people who could have voted did not do that? And on average, presidents win by about a margin of 14%. That shows you that your vote really does count and it's really important today. So we wanted to give you the information you needed to know in order to make sure you're ready to vote when it's time. So we're going to take you through some brief steps that you can do to register to vote, to check your registration, and to understand some other issues that might either come up on the day of voting, and make sure that you feel comfortable doing so. So follow me now. We are going to actually use the website Rock the Vote. It's a really great website, and they have all the information there for every state. So share this information with any friend anywhere. Let's start with registering to vote. So if you go here to the top and click register to vote, it's a super simple process. If you've never registered to vote, go ahead and do it right there. It'll come up, it'll ask you a little bit of your information and take you step by step through the registration you need for your state. Now, let's say you've registered in the past, but maybe you've moved or don't exactly know where you are registered to vote. So go to how to vote and go to am I registered to vote? And again, it'll just take this one set of information, and once you fill that in, it will show what your status is and where you are registered to vote at. If that's not where you want it to be registered to vote at, it'll give you an opportunity to update it. It's important that even if you're registered to vote, let's say in your city, Kansas City, but you have moved different addresses, you need to re-register. Because if you show up at your old polling place with a new address, you're not going to be available to vote. So make sure you check that and update it if you need to. People need to update their registration all the time. It's a very quick process, but you do need to do it by a certain date for your state. So how do you know those dates for your state? If you go to how to vote in your state and click on your state to get started, we are going to do Missouri. And it will give you some basic information. First of all, the statewide and federal elections, which are coming up. So everybody's primary election day is August the 4th. This is for us to vote and choose the nominees for president. And so August the vote, and in Missouri, we don't do early voting. We do have in-person absentee voting, and those dates are available right there, but you have to register in advance. The voter registration deadline for that vote on August 4th has actually already passed, and it was Wednesday, July 8th. That's why it's so important to do this stuff in advance. But you still can register to vote for the main presidential election, which will happen in November. So we are allowed in the state of Missouri to request an absentee ballot, and that in-person request has to be done by August the 3rd. So that means we have to go down to the voting center to do that. And then you have to turn that absentee ballot in by August the 4th. So if you're unable to vote on the day of the actual election, you can do an absentee ballot. It'll give you some more information about the federal election, which is November the 3rd for everyone. That's the registration deadline for us to make sure we're registered by then in order to vote in November. So pass this information along ahead of time. They also give you information on your local election, and will help you click to get to some of the local things that you might need to be voting for in the meantime. A few other things to note. Everybody's state is different as far as voting by mail or voting absentee. And if you are concerned about waiting in lines or being around a group of people with this COVID crisis going on, voting is still going to happen. So if you scroll down while you're on your state and go to vote by mail and absentee, it will show you what the rules are for your state. So in Missouri, voters can vote absentee, but they have to have an approved excuse. if you click on this hyperlink here, it takes you directly to the state of Missouri's voting page and gives you all the information you need to know. So in Missouri, for example, you may not be eligible for an absentee ballot because there are some rules and regulations. However, they have made some changes to request a ballot due to a mail-in ballot just for this particular occasion for COVID. So check what your state says, follow those same click links, and see what you can do about getting a mail-in ballot. And here in Missouri, here's a hyperlink right here to request a mail-in ballot, just simply because you don't want to be standing in line due to COVID-19. So the rules are different for everybody's state. Follow the links on Rock the Vote, and it'll help you get to the information you need to know. So let's take a few minutes to go back to Rock the Vote and answer some really frequently asked questions on voting. So if you go to How to Vote and go to Voting FAQs, it gives you a bunch of really great information here, and we've already went through some of that. We're going to scroll down to a few issues that we haven't talked about. For example, if you're in the armed forces, how do you register? And Rock the Vote actually has a partnership with the Overseas Vote Foundation, and if you click there, it will help you follow the steps that you need to in order to register to vote if you are serving our country. Same thing is true, not the same thing, but if you live abroad, you still can vote. You're a citizen of the United States, you still can vote even when you're not here. And there's a voting assistance program, and there's the website there that'll help you register to vote if you're living abroad. There's a few other things here. One thing we'll also highlight is if you have a disability, is your polling place going to be accessible, and what options do you have? And so it's the right of every voter to cast a private and independent ballot, including if you have a disability. So if you are concerned, then all you have to do is click here to go to the National Disabilities Rights Network, and it'll tell you what you need to know. You can make sure that your polling place is going to be accessible for you. And if it's not, the steps that you can take while you're there to ensure that they help you vote. One other big question is, if you've been convicted of a felony, can you register to vote? And the answer actually varies by state. So it's really important that just because you're convicted of a felony does not necessarily mean that your voting rights are gone. It depends on where you live, and you can click here to learn more detailed information. We'll jump down and find a little bit more information. If you're getting a voter card in the mail, that's a really good thing to keep and hold on to. But if your info is wrong, or if you don't have it, that is not a reason to not go vote. Also, it's not often accepted as a form of ID. So you can take your voter card to go vote, but a lot of states have changed their laws so that you need a state-issued ID in order to vote. So make sure you check that out here, and it'll tell you what you need in order to go vote. We talked a little bit about voting early or absentee. There's a few details here about what we've already talked about there, but you can always click there. The real important thing I want to highlight is voting on election day. I cannot tell you how many times this happened to me and to people that I love, that you show up to vote at the polls and then they say you are not on the rolls. So what should you do? First, you got to be at the right polling place. Like I said, just because you're registered to vote and you haven't changed cities, but you've changed addresses, that affects where you're supposed to vote at. So if you're at the wrong polling place, they won't have your name on the list of voters. That doesn't mean you're not registered. It just means you're not registered to be there. So if you are, so that first thing you do is figure out where you're registered at. You can, even on your phone, the day of, go to How to Vote, check your registration. It should show you the address that you're registered at, and then that poller can tell you, oh, you need to go vote at this location. If you are at the correct location and are still not on the list and they are telling you cannot vote, you still can cast a ballot. So ask the poll worker for a provisional ballot. After the polls close on election day, your state will check the status of your voter registration if there was a mistake made. And they have to notify you whether your ballot was counted or not. If you are having a problem voting and you think your rights are being denied and they're not letting you vote unfairly, all you have to do is call Rock the Vote's phone number, and there'll actually be a lawyer there to help you through the process and tell you the things to say to the poll worker to make sure you get what you need. It is your right to vote, and we have to stand up for that. Many a person has died for that right, and so we still have to stand up for that right today. They are going to help you do that. And then one of the most basic things is where to vote on election day. If you are properly registered to vote, you should be getting a card in the mail maybe a week or two before the election that tells you where you should vote. If you're not getting those, that's a good indication that maybe you're not registered in the right place. But go ahead and come to the website, check your registration. You can even click here to tell you where to vote at. I hope that that was some good information for you. I hope that you can share it with a friend. As you see, the registration deadlines for voting are a couple of months ahead of each election. So it's really important that you get registered and update your registration as soon as possible so that you are ready to vote when the time comes, because your vote really does count. If you have any additional questions, we're not experts, but we're here to help, and you can always reach out to us. You can find us at Grandview Data's on the social media pages. You can send us an email as well at z5b.yzz@gmail.com. And then Rock the Vote probably has all the answers to the questions that you have. So just come to their website and it'll help make sure that you get what you need. We want to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the polls.